Blah, blah, test, test. Everyone has a seat, a drink, a coffee. Working well. Yeah. Welcome back. And Dirk, will you please say something to...
Yes. So thank you for your patience. I hope everybody's refreshed.
And your flexibility. And that's, yeah.
Yeah.
So
I'm restarting with my part here. Technical problems have been resolved. So a little bit, as I said, so what I present today is a little bit of the intersection of advertising psychology, cultural psychology, media psychology. So maybe a fresh look or a bit different and hopefully complements the program. We call that the medium spins the message. And we come from the observation that, of course, we have a boom of social media, and that's also changing the advertising landscape. So record reach of these media, TikTok, and among Gen Y, Gen Z, Gen Alpha, consistently increasing spending in these media, and new and different rules of how that all works. And that was, for us, the reason we're involved with this topic now also for many years, starting with Facebook and the big Facebook boom. That was great, also profiting from the experience of cooperating with Stefan and here the knowledge we got from the Mapping the Moods survey to restart and have insights from a current study, which I present. 30 IDIs have been made. And our setting for this is we have the respondents do a pre-task before. So what they do, they record a 10-minute session TikTok or a 10-minute session Instagram, what you see here with all the cute dogs. And we then, in the interview, go through these TikToks and Instas with them scene by scene and understand why are they swiping away, what's attaching them, what's the involvement about, what's the story about. And this gives deep, deep insight also about advertising, which is implemented in this. And I want to start with the first section of my presentation, a little bit explaining what's the new psychology of social media. So we're living in a digital everyday, everything has changed, and with development from broadcast to digital social media, also the ways we communicate, the ways humans interact with technology, everything has culturally changed. So there is this wonderful science of media studies. They say things like from, it's better in German, from Luther to Twitter. From Luther to Twitter doesn't sound right. So from Luther to Twitter, so there are many things changing over the era. I don't go into detail here. But what we have observed is the new psychology is a digital stream of consciousness. So basically from getting up to going to sleep, we observe in our interviews, they explain to us they are basically online for 5, 6, 7 hours in different contexts with different devices. But it often starts that they wake up and they need this positive feeling of getting in touch with some influencer and seeing, oh, well, she's getting up as well, she posts something from the last day, and you get in a good mood. So what happens is the digital is the sphere which is covering us all the time. We're not getting out of it. And what's more specifically happening is that all inner impulses find outward reflection in the digital sphere. So basically everything we feel inside of us is easily extended to some content we have in the digital. So for instance, you feel some insecure, so you check in the YouTube. You feel some arousal, you might hook up on a political topic. So we describe that as the self is extended into the digital self. And both spheres are heavily intertwined all the time. And that makes understandable that we live in an era where people have an inability to endure stillness and calm. So these moments of being totally calm, not being covered with a digital medium is very difficult. And we observe 3 states of mind of how social media are used. So the first and very important form is you see that in all kinds of public transport. When you're in an S-Bahn or in a train, everybody is on the phone, meaning it somehow has the function of a pacifier, of a soother, of a schnuller, to keep your inner arousal under control with extending yourself to the digital self. It's also about short-lived digital dream escapes, so seeing what the influencers are doing, how great this world is. And this is also about maintaining relationships with figures in the digital world, again, the influencers or all kinds of anchor figures. And meaningful attention has different forms, different formats in these different states of mind. But one thing is really in common, that we live in an era of extreme acceleration. So there is this wonderful experiment of the Microsoft Canada, and in the 90s they found out the span of attention of the humans used to be 20 seconds before they turned to the next source of attention. But that has shortened, and we are now below goldfish level. We are under 7 seconds. That's the only number you will hear from me today, but we observe that also how hectic that is. And the theme of my presentation today was that the medium spins the message, meaning it's not only the digital which forms what is meaningful attention, but each of the social mediums, each one of it has a certain message. The medium is a message. You know that from Marshall McLuhan, the famous philosophical thought, basically. So whether you are on Facebook, whether you are on Instagram, whether you are on TikTok, you create a different way of attention. You are in a different world, on a different planet, so to speak. And we created analysis metrics of how we basically analyze what's different with the attention. So we first look at qualities, moods, experiences, which are typical for the medium, which are typical for Facebook compared to Instagram and so on. And behind that, that's something we discovered. We find something like a communicative archetype. So basically each of the social medium has something which is a guiding picture, a guiding image from the analog world, which stands behind it. So basically what our culture has learned how to communicate in the analog world is now translated to the digital world in this special medium channel. You know that Facebook started with Zuckerberg, and that was the culture of the campus, university, checking out girls, very political incorrect. But it has transformed to a family medium later on, but those are archetypes. And we have with each social medium also a specific rewarding system, or sets of rewarding systems. Why do you get hooked on it? Why do you stay with it? Why are you loyal with it? And we can observe that to do. And then, of course, rules for brand communication. So let's go through a tour de force, little history of psychology of social media. We start with Facebook. And what we found out, the communicative archetype of Facebook is something like a scene of the barbecue party of neighbors. So what happens at a typical barbecue party? Everybody is boasting how good they live, they got a promotion, the children are developing grades, they have good school marks. That's what you usually have. That's the first version of this barbecue in let's say, the suburban cozy world. So what you won't happen is, well, I have problems with my husband, he's an alcoholic, a kid doesn't cope with school, and I don't know whether I will lose my job. And so that will be a depressive garden party, but people want a positive garden party. And what is happening is you create codec moments of private-public presentation of how you want to present yourself in front of others, but it all has this familiar touch in this. So it's a little bit like sending a postcard. What we see here, we analyze these Facebook posts. We did that for years now. And basically, they show the dog. They talk about the last holiday. There was a school event. And what's the reward system here? The reward systems are like. Likes are the social capital. So how many friends you have, how many likes you have. So that's what you're worth. It's like social capitalism you see there. The more likes, the more friends, the more important you are as a person. This idea of this familiarization spreads to hobby groups, hiking groups, cooking groups, so you can find all kinds of groups. Advertising, we didn't analyze this recently, I skipped this point, but analyzing moves away from Facebook is our observation, but we might discuss later on. Next thing was the kids didn't want to stay under the same tent as the parents. They wanted to flee the Facebook world. That was a bit embarrassing as a 15-year-old that you're all constantly involved with what the parents are talking about you. So God created Snapchat, and the communicative archetype of that one is a pubescent teeny world experimenting with identities. And the good thing is, the promise of a Snapchat was everything gets disappeared. So nothing is saved. So you had a problem in your later career that someone could find a photo in Facebook. You don't want that. Rather a good thing is that everything, photos like that, they can disappear and you're not embarrassed by that 5 years later. But we skip this intermediate. Snapchat is not so important anymore. Now we are with Instagram. And Instagram has gone through at least 2, maybe 3 developments. The first destination, and that is what the background for meaningful attention is, what the tone of voice is in Facebook, the quality, moods, experience. I said Facebook, Instagram. Instagram is the style book. So what happens here is everything is styled. It's not an ordinary meal. It all looks super polished. It's a world, the reward system, you create Instagrammability. You create this sense of super polished, super styled, super aspirational. That's the place you want to be. That's the way you want to appear. That's all. It feels a little bit 90s already when we look at that, but that was the first movement. So the archetype is a mirror. The scene, the archetypical scene is like you prepare in front of the mirror for your appearance where everybody finds you aspirational. So narcissistic self-stylization is the mechanism. And there is the famous fairy tale of Snow White, and we all know where Snow White is ending up, in this glass coffin. Nothing moves, and it is a very stale and fake world. Of course, it's copying decades of glamour, fashion, style magazines, but there is this downside of the glossiness burnout, which we have experienced with Instagram. And we mean reality needs to be filtered to these kinds of images. The glossiness burnout is, especially it's for emancipation, quite a turn backwards, that all the women wants to get filtered. We had the culture of the Dubai influences. Nobody wants to see these guys anymore. So it's all a bit fake. And what happened in the last 3 years is this drive towards authenticity. So it happened that we saw the female influencers that they got married, that they talk more about the boyfriends, that they also have some problems sometimes, that they say, well, it's so hard to keep the weight. So they get all a bit more natural. They show their children, they make a development. And we see that there is something like the influencer life cycle. So in the first stage, you get them to know. Then you start a kind of relationship with them, but then you go through life with them so that you experience different turns and you see those are real persons, not these fake ones from Dubai. And here we notice that it's a big movement towards authenticity, more real life, and but again, advertising is brand communication on this platform. Influencers are extremely important for this world, so it's not just the ad, it's also how you create product placement. So everything is advertising, product placement is king. That's the basic mode inside Instagram. But avoid artificial glossiness. So everything a bit more.
Moment until it's a memory.
Little fishies, are you afraid of the dark?
Sprinkle baking soda onto half a lemon, brushing your sink, then finish with hot water to sparkle.
Okay, so we are in the middle of this weird 1, 2, 3. Very different. Maybe you can put
overrated or underrated? 808.
Overrated is
Berliner Luft.
Don't you have a oder ausstellen?
1, 2, 1, 2, 3.
Real is the wheel. Is a main mechanism of TikTok. When you get into this, nobody's gonna slow me down. With it. Brain jogging and brainwashing. We have them explain what's really interesting is we have seen that in this endless sequence of these clips that you always have 1 to 2 seconds, and that's why your 2.5 seconds are so important, where you assess, do you want that or do you want to turn it off? So you're constantly facing the unexpected, and you need to decide, like a juror in these buzzer shows. That's actually, you remember the buzzer shows where they stop that, go on with the next one, and it's a tour de force through all registers of emotions. It's funny, it's serious, it's informative, it's anarchic, it's exciting, it's silly. and everything coming in these 3, 4, 5-second rhythm. And it's also a symbol for our culture, because look what's happening in the culture. Every 3 months we are in the next crisis. We constantly face the unexpected. So this is a little bit like a training course for learning, that every 2 seconds you might be disoriented. What's happening in our culture now? So, and here we have identified 7 to 8 different formats, so to speak, like TV genres, TV formats, what's happening in this world. You don't remember. To hear this is the sound. It's very important for the impact of the next slide. So, is that so difficult for you? Now you know I needed this, because one great relief of the Instagram world, of the TikTok world, is that this amateurishness and that you're in the middle of trash somehow. It's a psychological relief from the Instagram world of compulsion to perfection. So in the Instagram world, everything is polished, everything is clean, everything, but it's this glossiness overkill you can't stand. And here you're in the world, everything is amateurish. And that's nice, and everybody has the right to be there. And that's this cluster of the weird, of the funny, of the boing boing. And of course it has resemblances to MTV Jackass and great trash formats of these decades. It has resemblances to American Has Got Talent. They fight for the buzzer here. And then we have the cute
British accent.
So the baby is
Look up. Say, can I please have more, sir?
Can I please have more, sir?
Yes.
Isn't she?
Sprinkle baking soda onto half a lemon to freshen your sink, then finish with...
You have YouTube, television, Facebook, but everything shorter, more efficient, more time-attuned, because everything is faster in this decade. So they take lots of market share from them. And now we come to some basic rules. So don't create an ad, create a TikTok. So if you come with this polished, typical commercial, this is not something which works here. So it's all a bit tacky, it's all a bit, we've seen that here. But that also means, as a brand, to appear on TikTok is somehow often a balance act. So you have to protect the brand somehow from TikTok level. So we had a Colgate already earlier today, and the tonality of the Colgate brand and what's happening there, it has a certain level, it has a certain emotional attachment. And then on TikTok we have something like that. So is that Colgate? It's somehow funny, but the problem can be that you somehow also destroy the level of your brand, which you have established over years, with too much silliness, too much weirdness, too much anarchy. So that brings us to, a quick cookbook. This 25 minutes are already over, I think. No, it's 23 minutes. Well, what we learned, what's important. So I already mentioned 2 things. Instagram is great for style. TikTok has a huge capacity for creative inventing, but it has its downsides. But let's start. One problem we often observe is that some brands, they are on social media. So what they do, they have a communicative department and maybe an older guy who doesn't understand the social media world very well. He says, well, I hire a younger guy and he should somehow establish a presence for social media for us. And I don't know, in this example you see basically they have their own appearance, they put everything in their own field, and but nobody wants to go to this brand. A better strategy seems to be an influencer strategy, where you find your right influencer.
Deswegen haben wir für euch heute den Emilinus-Salaten. Was ihr als erstes dazu braucht, ist eine Packung Emilinus von Emmys. Mit einem Klecks Öl. Emilinus mit dazu, außerdem noch ein paar Mozzarella-Kügelchen und ein paar als Topping kommt da noch ein ganzer Esslöffel so drauf, oder wie wir sagen, Froschkacke, außerdem noch ein Esslöffel Apfelessig, dann das Ganze immer.
That was a bit too much.
Eine mega schöne und einfache Sommeridee für euch zum Nachmachen ist es, eure Liebsten einzupacken und ein kleines Picknick vorzubereiten. Für mich muss es da echt immer schnell und einfach gehen. Deswegen habe ich hier meinen mega Schoko-Wafer-Snack eingepackt mit einem selbstgemachten Eistee.
So the presenter format is the enemy of creativity, and this is also very difficult. I mean, obviously, they got some money and a briefing, what they are about to say about this cookie, and it's totally fake. Normally, everybody goes away after 2 seconds, and it's not creative. And that's important if you are on social media. Embrace creativity and see that
Eine mega schöne und einfache Sommeridee für euch zum Nachmachen ist es, eure Liebsten einzupacken und ein kleines
very simple, but it is a visual idea. Take the bottle and you have all these fruits out of it. Much better. The next thing we can say, there's a disruptive. So Duolingo is the superstar of the TikTok universe, and I'm a great fan of what's happening here. I showed to you my favorite one, it's Taylor Swift. It's so cool. I'm sobbing sometimes when I see that. And disruptive means also you can play with your image. And again, that's a fine balance act. But look what Deutsche Bahn has achieved. So they take jokes people make about Deutsche Bahn and create a TikTok. So it's winter, spring, summer, autumn. The 4 enemies. So we have different registers, a fine-tuning of messaging, which communicative environment you take, and we have to obey. Insta and TikTok are different planets. So Planet Insta, we had that described, so they made collages about that, what's happening there. So the world of style and trendiness. It's a little bit the Barbie world, highly polished, you know. Today is the best day ever, and Ken on the beach, he only can do beach. Yes, you. Everything is just great and stylish. The perfect balance of ideal aspiration, but now there comes a sense of warm authenticity with the recipes, with the babies, with the families to it. That's Planet Insta. Planet TikTok is the world of real life and entertaining anarchy. So proudly presenting the human imperfection and the craziness of life. So a very, very different register. And the possibilities of advertising, that means you really have to choose maybe different forms of the advertising. Take out comms on Insta are about style celebration, product as a hero demonstration, product placement. Comms on TikTok, no ads but TikTok, celebrating the weird and the surprise effect, so anarchic creativity. And to exemplify how different this feels, and now qualitative research is a lot about feelings, I show you 2 ads. This is this highly polished Insta world. like basically a fashion magazine, like Vogue. And this is how it feels on TikTok. Text over it, cramped, perspective shifting, hand camera, crazy cuts. So here we are. So what's now important? I don't want to praise TikTok, that TikTok is the next word. There are great success stories. Stefan, you brought up this case from Switzerland where they have some Dunkin' Donuts craze. And with TikTok, when you manage to create cult marketing with it, you have an instant hype, possibly, that works. But the question is, do you take care, do you protect your brand world and campaign tonality? So a study we did was for McDonald's, and they had this Easter campaign with the Easter bunny and all the cozy world, a family world. But then they had a prolongation to Insta. So you see the corpses normally in the trunk, and this is, might be good for the target group, but this is where you start to protect your brand, and is it the right register? Another example for that, the Haribo cute world, so adult becoming a child.
Wir könnten einen roten Goldbärchen einbuddeln und dann kommt ein riesengroßer Goldbär bauen.
But then you have some influence. It's a question. To be quick, message, and I turn it off here. So last slide. So that's our job as qualitative researchers, to understand the impact of social media and understand what, as a brand, is your best way to take advantage of what you can do there, but also protect your brand, as I said. So really understanding, the fit to target group, fit to brand world, which channel to take, and also how a campaign can be played holistic with maybe setting an edge on the social media, but understanding which meanings come across and understanding whether the impact is right. Yeah, thank you very much for your meaningful attention. And there's a QR code. I want it to be digital with this QR code. Maybe you can.
That's true.
So, just who wants to connect on LinkedIn? So.
Thank you, Dirk, for this really good overview and also introduction into the different social media platforms. Well, maybe we have one question, time for one question, and then we'll move on. Really in the back, no? Okay. So then I think I hope you will be here for longer after 5 p.m.
Yeah.
So if someone wants to talk to Dirk, and
talk.
yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you also for being here.